This is my 2025 ultimate kitefoiling setup. I've been changing things a lot over the last 2 or 3 years, but right now I've really started to lock in what I like to ride, and I'm not changing things up as much because I feel like I've got to a spot where what I ride is super comfortable and I'm just getting dialed into that setup, and I don't feel like I need to change things because I'm not lacking anything. I feel like what I'm riding now feels super good for the style of kitefoiling that I like to do. So that is why this is my ultimate kitefoiling setup. Now, I don't think this is for everyone. This might not be everyone's ultimate kitefoiling setup. If you like to do more kite tricks, or you like to jump or do other things, your setup might be completely different to mine, and that's totally fine. There's no right answer. There's no best setup that you can have for kitefoiling. This is just my setup and what I like to ride. So to start it off, I'm currently riding the Jet HA640 chopped down, and this is at around 73 cm wingspan. So I've chopped a substantial amount off the wingtips, but I find that this wingspan feels super good. It's really responsive and rolls over the way I like to have the foil roll over. I think when the wingspan's wider, it doesn't quite roll over as good, and I don't feel like the extra efficiency from having a bigger wingspan is helping me do anything kitefoiling. You don't need that efficiency. You've got the kite there to pull you, and the kite is such a powerhouse that you really want to maximize feel and ride rather than maximize efficiency like all the other foil sports. So I think kitefoiling is in a completely different realm for me than all the other foil sports, because you really don't have to be worried about maximizing efficiency. You really just want to tailor your foil setup to the feeling you like and the characteristics you like when you're up and riding. I'm on a 55 cm fuse. This is the short fuse from Nash. I really like how this feels because it's just more whippy, snappy, turny, and that's what I like doing kitefoiling. I like to turn hard, turn fast, have it be super reactive and just feel like you can do anything, go anywhere in an instant, and a 55 cm fuse is super good for that. The thing people ask me about probably the most is my rear wing choice. Why do I ride this? What's it all about? I've been riding this kind of style of rear wing for 2 or 3 years now, and I think a big part of why I really like it is that it's lower mid aspect in the middle here, which gives you a lot of stability at slower speeds or after you've breached coming back in to re-engage the foil, but it's still got the skinny higher aspect tips that keeps some efficiency and also keeps some balance from having a bigger span. This is a bigger rear wing than what I would be riding prone or what I'd be riding para-winging. I do sometimes use this rear wing prone foiling, and I like it too. This is a carbon version of the same shape rear wings that I've been riding. It's still flexy. But this one just has a bit better stiffness and rebound, and I find when I'm riding in bigger waves or just riding in more wind, riding faster, this stiffer version of the same thing has a bit more control. So I've basically moved to riding this rear wing exclusively, and I think it's a big part of my ultimate kitefoil setup, and it really does change things a lot. I've tried smaller rear wings, I've tried some new prototypes from Nash, I've tried a lot of rear wings, and they just don't give me the balance that I get from this when I'm doing breach turns and trying to come back in and control the foil. I think a bigger rear wing like this that's more efficient gives you a more neutral footed stance, and when you're coming back in to the water after breaching the foil, when you re-engage, you can re-engage more neutrally footed and more on your back foot, which lets you pump out of the breach you do and maintain speed into another turn. When I have the smaller wing, I'm not able to like pump off that back foot as hard and bounce back up into the wind. This rear wing really lets me do that, and I think it's a big part of what makes my ultimate kitefoil setup unique compared to other people. Something else that's unique about my setup is my board choice. Obviously very big compared to most kitefoilers. Most kitefoilers like that they can ride a super thin, super small board. And don't get me wrong, I do really like the feeling of a thin board, that you have more control over the foil. But again, I like this prone board because it has volume, because it's 33 liters, because it floats, because it has some length. It feels like I'm actually riding on something. It feels a bit more surfy. If I touch down with the nose after a breach or in a bottom turn, it's fine. This just like taps down, bounces up, keeps going. I don't feel the same way about riding an 80 cm, 90, 100 cm tray. I don't feel like it just bounces off the water and keeps going after a breach. Maybe I just haven't ridden enough of those boards. Maybe I would be fine on them, but I do like having some volume, being able to loop the kite in very light wind and just gain some board speed and get up and foiling. I can almost always do that with this board because it has a little bit of volume to play with. I know when I ride smaller boards, I can't do that. So yeah, I love how this feels. I love the width. I love the flat deck. I have a whole video about this board. It's in the Chimera review. I talk about this board and the reasons I really like this board. So if you want to know more about this board, check out that other video that I have. The mast I'm riding is the 75 cm high modulus carbon. I didn't think this would make as much difference as it did. I don't think you need the stiffest mast to kitefoil with, because you're not riding very big span wings. You're riding smaller span wings that don't create as much leverage. So in general, you don't really need the high modulus carbon mast. But I do notice at higher speeds, when I'm really pushing a lot against the foil, this does make a difference. I'm more in control. This mast ventilates less. It's faster because it's got this progressive chord and it's skinny down the bottom. If you can afford it, sure. Get a high modulus mast, get a really stiff mast. But if you can't afford it, don't worry. I don't think it makes that big a difference. I can still do roughly the same things on the regular carbon versus the high modulus, but it does definitely add a bit of extra control that I can notice. The 75 cm length is maybe also unconventional. A lot of kitefoilers like to ride like a 95 or 100 even. If you're going fast, if you want to jump, if you're doing, kite tricks, I get that. I think the bigger mast gives you more room for error. It's definitely better for those styles of kitefoiling. But for the kitefoiling I like to do, which is turning hard, riding waves basically, I think a 75 cm mast is better because you get quicker response and more leverage over the foil through the board. So 75 cm, definitely my choice and what I like to ride, and a big part of this ultimate kitefoil setup. As for the kites I'm using, I've been using a 3 and a 6 boxer. The 3's been a prototype, the 6 is the current boxer that you can get now. And that's pretty much covered me for all wind conditions. I don't, outside of, 5 knots or 60 knots, I don't need other kites. I can do it all with a 3 and a 6, and that's partly due to having a very efficient front foil. This front foil really lets me maximize how small of a kite I can ride in light wind. With the 6, I can swoop the 6. If I can get up onto the foil, I'm just going with this. Once I'm going, I'm going. It's so efficient that a kite at 6 meters just keeps you going in the lightest of winds. So yeah, kite choice, 3 and a 6. I think if I had 3 kites, I'd probably go something more like a 2.8, a 4 and a 7. But yeah, with a very efficient front foil, you can go small on those kite choices. I think if you're riding a bigger front foil or something that's lower aspect, you still need to go to some bigger sizes. But it's really nice to ride small kites. They're lighter, they drift better. So if it's possible to ride a small kite and you're powered enough, I definitely recommend trying to ride a smaller kite. The last part of the puzzle, and I think a really critical part of it all, is the bar and lines. This is the same bar and lines I've been using the last 3 years. It's a Torque 2 50 cm bar with 14 meter lines. I've been using these same 14 meter lines that whole time, and I think this is the best combination of things. It's not so short that you can't get going. It's not too long that you feel disconnected. It's a really good balance. I have tried shorter lines. I've tried all the way down to 5 meters. I have tried longer lines. I've tried, you know, the regular length, 22, 24. This is what I really like. This is really part of what connects all this setup together, and it really helps you feel in control of your setup, in control of the kite, and in control of your ability to go downwind or go upwind or go wherever you want without feeling like you're just getting slack in the lines and you're going to fall off. The other thing I do that's maybe a bit unconventional is I tend to set my D-power so my lines are even almost halfway up the D-power line, maybe a little bit below. My lines are even about here on the throw. And that's a big one because I think with your lines being even around here, you have a lot of ability to backstall your kite back into the wind window. And without that, if you simply have your bar set up like a quite typical setup where you would have the lines even down here, you're not capable of really backstalling the kite aggressively back into the window. And I think that's a really important part of riding swell, riding waves, is the ability to stall your kite back in the wind, because you don't always want to loop your kite into position, because a loop takes time, so you can't often do it between maneuvers, and also a loop generally gives you too much power. It's pulling you away from the section or away from the thing you want to do. So the key to riding waves and riding swell on a kitefoil, in my opinion, is having enough backline tension to be able to backstall the kite into various positions than you want it in. Ideally, I wouldn't loop my kite at all. I would just push it forward, push it back, and that is how I would go downwind, and that is how I try to ride the waves. So yeah, think about your bar setup and think about your line length choice. You might want to try shorter lines, and I think if you haven't, I think it's really going to help your kitefoiling, and I think you're probably going to like it more. You're just going to feel more in control. So that's it. That's my 2025 Ultimate Kitefoiling setup. If you have any questions or queries, feel free to hit me up in the comments as always. I hope everyone has a good time out there on the water, and see you in the next one. Peace.